Do you think Lewis Hamilton is really publicly putting pressure on Ferrari because he doesn't fully trust the project, or is he simply sending a message to the rest of the field that Ferrari is coming with everything for the Chinese Grand Prix? Subscribe to continue uploading more of this type of content now, if we continue. Because what just happened inside Ferrari can completely change the course of the season. The Maranello team has prepared a very aggressive package of improvements for China, an evolution that could transform the performance of the SF26 and put them fully in the fight for victories. But just when expectation was at its highest, Hamilton released a message that fell like a bomb in the paddock. It was not direct criticism, it was not a frontal attack, but it was very clear public pressure. The seven-time world champion hinted that Ferrari cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of the past, especially after the technical disaster they experienced last season. And when a driver like Hamilton speaks in that tone, everyone in Formula One knows that there is much more behind those words. Because to understand what is happening now, you have to remember what happened before. Ferrari already wasted an entire season with a car that never worked as it should, a situation that ended up affecting even Hamilton himself in his first year dressed in red. And now, with an all-new car and a key upgrade package ready for China, the pressure within the team is higher than ever. So the big question is inevitable. Is Hamilton warning Ferrari before it's too late? Or is he setting the stage for something much bigger within the team? The real turning point for Ferrari began when the team decided to break with many of the ideas that had guided the development of its cars in recent years. After the technical disaster experienced with the SF25, the Maranello engineers reached a conclusion that is usually difficult to accept within Formula One. The car concept was too limited to evolve during the season. Trying to fix it with small updates would have only served to waste time and resources. That is why Ferrari made a much more radical decision than usual: redirect much of the development towards a new project that would shape the next car, the SF26. This decision marked the beginning of a completely different philosophy within the team, a philosophy based on creating a much more flexible platform prepared to constantly evolve throughout the championship. The new car was not conceived as a simple evolution of the previous one, but as a foundation specifically designed to be able to change and improve quickly. From the beginning, engineers planned different iterations of the car throughout the year, meaning that the car that Ferrari presented at the start of the season was only the first version of a project that had to be progressively transformed race after race. Instead of waiting until mid-year to introduce a big aero package, the plan was much more aggressive. Constant improvements from the start, even in the early rounds of the calendar. This strategy is precisely what explains why the Chinese Grand Prix now appears as such an important moment within the championship, because Ferrari arrives at that race with one of the first significant evolution packages of the SF26. The goal behind this approach is very clear. Ferrari wants to avoid being trapped again in a rigid concept that limits its margin of reaction during the season. In previous years, the team had suffered precisely because of this. By the time they discovered a fundamental problem in the car's design, it was too late to fix it without rebuilding much of a car. Now the approach is completely different. The SF26 has been designed as an adaptable platform, capable of accepting major aerodynamic changes without compromising the overall balance of the car. This allows Ferrari to introduce improvements much more quickly and react more effectively to what its rivals are doing on the track. In the middle of all this scenario comes the moment that has really lit up the paddock. Ferrari lands at the Chinese Grand Prix with an important package of improvements for the SF26, a car that represents practically the team's most ambitious project in years. All the work done since the previous season, all the technical decisions, and all the internal changes within Maranello point to this moment. And is just when the team presents this evolutionary leap that Lewis Hamilton decides to launch a message that many interpret as a real bomb within the team. But the interesting thing is that if you analyze carefully, this is not a destructive criticism of Ferrari, but something much more calculated. Direct public pressure to prevent the team from repeating the same mistakes that ruined the previous season. Hamilton knows perfectly well how Ferrari works when things start to get complicated. Last year, he lived it from within. He saw how a promising project ended up losing competitiveness due to technical problems that were not resolved in time, and how the team decided to abandon development too early to focus on the next car. From the outside, it may seem like a logical decision, but for a driver who arrived with the expectation of fighting for victories, that was a very hard blow. That is why now the Briton has made it clear that this time Ferrari cannot afford to give up in the middle of the season. His message is simple but tremendously forceful. If the team wants to win championships again, it has to keep developing the car aggressively throughout the year, without repeating the mistakes of the past. What makes this message so powerful is the moment in which it arrives. Ferrari is introducing one of the first major evolution packages of the SF26, and the entire paddock is watching closely to see if the new concept car actually works. If these improvements unlock the car's potential, Ferrari could quickly change its position on the grid. But if performance doesn't come in as expected, the project will begin to be questioned much sooner than the team would like. And in that context, Hamilton's words sound almost like an early warning. The time for experiments is over, and Ferrari needs to react quickly if it wants to stay in the fight. There's also another element that makes this situation so interesting. Inside the Ferrari garage, there is not only Hamilton. There is also Charles Leclerc, the driver around whom the team project had been built for years. The fact that the new car has been designed with the Britain's driving style in mind introduces a completely new dynamic within the team. Ferrari now finds itself with two drivers capable of fighting for the championship, and with a technical structure that has changed to adapt to this new reality. In this context, each public statement takes on much greater weight because it not only affects the external perception of the team, it also influences the internal balance within the garage itself. That is why Hamilton's message resonates so strongly within the paddock. It is not simply a phrase for the media or an emotional reaction. It is a clear warning from someone who perfectly understands how the cycles work within Formula One. The Briton knows that Ferrari has already bet everything on this new project, and that the SF26 probably represents the best opportunity that the team will have in the coming years to fight for the championship again. And when a 7-time world champion sends a message like that just before the first big improvement package of the season arrives, everyone in Formula One understands the same thing. Ferrari is entering a decisive moment, and the margin for error is practically non-existent. Ferrari arrives at the Chinese Grand Prix with more than just a package of improvements. He arrives with an opportunity that could define the course of his entire season. After a previous year marked by technical errors, difficult decisions, and a project that never really got off the ground, the Maranello team decided to go all in on a new beginning. The SF26 is not just a new car, it is the result of a completely different strategy. A platform designed to constantly evolve and avoid getting trapped in the same problems that ruined the previous project. But in Formula One, having a good plan on paper never guarantees success on the track. And this is where Lewis Hamilton's words take on all their meaning. His message is not simply a criticism or a gesture of frustration. It is the warning of a pilot who has seen too many times how a promising project can collapse if the team does not react in time. Hamilton knows that Ferrari no longer has room for another season of learning. The team has invested resources, talent, and structural changes to build this new car, and the Chinese Grand Prix represents one of the first real moments to demonstrate whether all that work is going in the right direction. If the improvements work as Ferrari hopes, the team could make a significant leap forward on the grid and begin to face its main rivals. But if the package does not deliver the expected performance, doubts will immediately reappear, and the pressure within Maranello will grow even more. Because when a project is built under the idea of all or nothing, each update, each race, and each result begins to have enormous weight within the season. That's why Hamilton's message resonates so much now. It is not a simple statement before a race. It is a sign that the 7-time world champion perfectly understands the critical moment that Ferrari is going through. And it is also a way of reminding the team that this time there are no excuses, that this time development cannot be stopped, and at this time Ferrari has to show that it is really ready to fight for championships again. The Chinese Grand Prix may seem like just another race on the calendar, but it may actually become the first big turning point of the year. Because if the new Ferrari meets expectations, the project could begin to establish itself as one of the strongest on the grid. But if something goes wrong again, Hamilton's words could become something much bigger than a simple warning. They could be the beginning of a new storm within Maranello. Subscribe to continue uploading more of that content. Now you really think about all this.